Can we go over the investment paper again?
Yeah. Hey, what was that? It was my own arm. Trying to figure out what that was. It was my own arm. I can't get it in focus. I wonder if there's something on the lens.
It's in focus.
Oh, you got it. What did you tap on it? Nice.
It focuses in the light.
Madison, do you have homework for me? Okay. All right, we're ready to get started? All right. Gosh, I meant to say this before class started, and I forgot all about it. But on the announcement page of Blackboard, I have a link right there to go to do the evaluation, because there's 17 of you haven't done the evaluation yet. 25 out of 42, it says. Now, my goal is to get all of these to 90%. So I'm at 60, 50, 60, and 65. Unless someone's done it in the last few minutes, let's check. Wait, here we go.
Which one's ours?
And the top one. And no, you haven't. But if you haven't done it, please do it. And you only have 6 more days. And then when you get to the completion page, or if you forget, you can sign back in, get to the completion page, take a quick picture and send it to me, and then I can mark it down for our participation. See how this says 25 are completed? And let's say I've only gotten 23 emails. That means there's 2 completed, and I don't know who it belongs to. So I take the 2, and I'd split them up among the 17, or really be 19 people that I don't know who it belongs to. So if you haven't done it, please do it. I guess that's the point. And at the end of class, I'm going to click on this and see if we got it uploaded. Even though you probably shouldn't do it while I'm lecturing. All right, let's refresh this. It's not the end of the class yet. Thank you. Was that 2 people? All right. We can still get this higher. I know you hardly listen to me anyway. So you got time. All right? All right. Well, what are we talking about today? When's our final? Let's do that. Let's look at that. Final exam, 4 p.m., Wednesday the 25th. So you got a whole week to prepare. I guess. Right? Is that right? No, 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks. But we have class on Monday, and the advantage of showing up Monday is that I hope to have prepared some hints for the final, so to kind of direct your studies a little bit. Maybe narrow it down to which chapters there'll be problems from, or something like that. This is my hope. So, and I'm going to turn off the camera so that only those who showed up get that information. I don't know why. It just seemed like a fun thing to do.
Well, now they'll know because you recorded it.
But now they'll show up because they'll want that information. Again. All right, Investopedia. Bria's still in first place. Can she make it to the end? Let's see. Where's second place? Wow. Rachel's in the other class. We can't ask her if she plans on doing something to get up there. It looks like she made some money today. Let's just roll look and see if she has a chance. Let's see what's Bria's at 11,130. Where did that go? Rachel's at 10,700, and the market's closed. So don't forget now, this is always a day behind. So the numbers you're looking at here was when the market closed yesterday. Tomorrow, let me go back here. Tomorrow, the game ends. 4 o'clock. Let the numbers settle. Look at your portfolio value in the top left-hand corner of your portfolio value at about 4:30-ish, I think. Give it about that much time. And that's the value you should be using. Even if you still own some stocks, that's the value you should be using for your paper. Because you don't have to sell them. Matter of fact, you saved $6.99 by not selling them. So that value includes those stocks you own in the top left-hand corner of your portfolio page, and that's the value you should use. If you forget tomorrow, the next day, after 6:30 or whatever time they update this list, the rankings will have the exact values you should be using on your paper on Friday. And then after Friday, the only way to get your number is going to be to email me. Because these change, your portfolio values are changing. They keep changing for like a week. I don't know why Investopedia does that, but they keep changing for a week, and then all of a sudden they go back to where the game ended, what your numbers are. But it's after you have to hand in the paper, so it won't help you. So again, look at your portfolio either Thursday after 4:30, look at the rankings on Friday after 6:30 or 7, or email me after that if you need it. Because some of you won't write it till what, Sunday night, Monday morning?
So the number will still be the same if we look like at 7:30 that night?
Yeah, on your portfolio, you mean? Tomorrow night at 7:30, from 4:30 until the market opens tomorrow at 9:30, your portfolio will have the correct number. And the ranking will have the correct number from 6:30, well, let's see what time, it says right here what time it updates. 6:29, so 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 the next morning on Saturday, this will have the correct number. So Friday to Saturday, then after Saturday at 6:30, neither of them will be correct. You'll need to email me if you want the correct number. There's points taken off if you use the incorrect number. That's why I'm trying to point this out so much. Again, the whole concept of the paper is you're doing everything you can to not give me a reason to take points off, because I don't want to take points off, but it just jumps out at me. So I don't know, if the instructions say make sure and include your username, this username like this, in your opening paragraph, make sure it's in there, because that's probably worth a point. Whatever else the instructions say. Don't forget it's one page of writing, maybe a page and a quarter, and that includes your calculations and everything, and then a page with a cover and put a little graphic on it, and that's it. You could be as little as 2 little pieces of paper you're handing in. I could write that in my sleep. And I hate writing it. I just do the calculation section and then BS the rest. Maybe. I don't know. I wanted to point out, I noticed something with Courtney. You jumped up from 32 to 17. You knew this?
Yeah.
You knew that?
Mm-hmm.
And some other people jumped up too, but I looked at yours first. Oh, she's not here. Oh, no, you're right here. You're right here. You jumped up from 37 to 19. And part of this jump up is they finally got past those 10,000s that are nobody. That's part of it. But still, look at what can happen right at the end. Every time someone jumps up past those 10,000s means that possibly someone else, fell down. Anyway, Alex isn't here. Mallory. That's it, the two of you. So anyway, I wanted to figure out why. When I noticed Courtney's, I wanted to figure out why, so I went to her portfolio, and this is it, right, Courtney? I just got to make it smaller, and I said, oh, look at that, Netflix again. But it wasn't Netflix that did it yesterday.
It was the Nike.
No, it wasn't Nike. You lost yesterday on Nike and today. I think, you lost $1.20 today and $20-some yesterday. It was TripAdvisor. And so I looked up TripAdvisor, and sure enough, come on, right there's yesterday. Yesterday it started here, and by the end of yesterday, it was all the way up here, and that's what jumped you up yesterday's TripAdvisor. You owned TripAdvisor, I noticed, all the way back in February, I think, but it finally did it for you here. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to buy TripAdvisor back in February? Let me make sure I got that right, because I did open that up too. Yeah, you bought it, oh no, that's your portfolio. Here you go. You bought it on the 6th of February. What drew you towards it? Did you see it on Yahoo Finance, anything?
My parents and I are planning their 25th wedding anniversary.
Everybody hear that? They're planning a trip for the 25th anniversary for her parents. Mm-hmm. And that's what made you buy the stock?
Yeah, because we were using TripAdvisor, so I was like, oh, I can go into it and use this for my finance class.
And now, here's a question. Do you plan on selling Netflix or TripAdvisor or Nike before the end of the game tomorrow?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it, but...
And did you see what happened to TripAdvisor today? Today it lost 50 cents a share, about 1.18%. Mm-hmm. So what I would do tomorrow, you guys, is when you wake up, which is about noon probably, just check the market and see how your stocks are doing and decide if you're going to sell or not. Because you got to realize it's going to cost you $6.99. You'd say $6.99 not selling, But if you think you could lose more than $6.99 by not selling, you may want to sell it. Just as a determination. The market. When we're sleeping tonight, and some missiles get launched while we're sleeping, that could be very, very bad news for the market tomorrow. And you may want to sell first thing in the morning. Because I believe the 48-hour time limit's up tonight, where anything could happen. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Or am I just going right over everybody's head? Because I see a lot of blank looks. Right? You know what I'm talking about? Syria? Everybody? Okay. You know? Syria, the whole world's mad at Syria because they did some chemical weapon gas on their own people about a week ago. They'd done it a bunch of times, but a week ago, a bunch of children and people had to go to the hospital, and reports came out showing exactly how it's affected them and how awful it was, and the world's up in arms. And our president has announced that we're going to be doing missile strikes as a retaliation for chemical weapon usage on their own people, on civilians. So this may happen overnight. Because this was 48-hour, the decision we made in 48 hours, and this was 2 days ago. So while you're sleeping. If this does, you wake up in the morning, and that's the headline, get on the market and sell, because you'll just lose more and more as the day goes on, maybe. It may even be too late, because don't forget, it's after hours selling and buying that makes the real money, and then when the market opens, you'll all of a sudden see this elevator because it's taking all the overnight trades and applying them to the Dow. You'll see it go up or down. All right, so TripAdvisor. So that was Investopedia. Someone said, did you say? Talk about, I want the calculation on the investment paper, or just the paper in general?
Just the paper in general.
Oh, just the paper in general? You don't want to see the calculation? Everybody
I
feel
mean,
pretty
that
comfortable with the APY calculation for their paper?
No.
Okay, I'm going to make up a number. I like to do loss because that seems to be the most confusing. Maybe it helps represent the most of you. I don't know. A loss. Let's say we lost, I don't know, $312. There's our loss. Just write a little word here, loss. You divide. We're all dividing by the same number because we all started with the same amount of money, 10,000. And this will turn into a decimal, 0.0312. Then you take this decimal and do what with it? Can't hear you. Add 1. That's right. So now we're at 1.0312. You'll take that number and do what with it? Put it to a exponent. Who was that? You got Vanessa? No? All right, just checking. 365 over, this is you. You got to tell me what it's over. Right, we don't know that for sure. You got to literally count the days from January 10th to April 12th. Don't assume there's 30 days a month, because February only had like 28 this year, I think, right? It wasn't a leap year, was it? Count the days exactly. You got to include the 10th. You got to include the 12th. Vanessa, did you include the 10th? Or did you start on 10?
I looked it up online, how many days were from January 10th to...
Oh, all right. So it could be around 93. Why? We'll see. And I'm not going to be a stickler. I mean, if you got 92 instead of 93, whatever. But if you got 87, which doesn't make sense at all, you're losing points. Put this to an exponent of 365 over number. And this is going to be like 4 something, I think. It's 90 going to that. What's 4 times 90? Yeah, about 4 something. So you're going to have 1.0312 to the power of 4 point something, something, something probably. And then you're going to get an answer, and this answer, let's do this real quick, just with the 4. 1.0312. Now I'm hitting the exponent key right there, and then the exponent is 4, I'm making a number up, 4.1 equals. So then we're at 1.1342. Now what's the next step? Subtract the 1 out. And now we're at 0.1342. And on your paper, all semester I said you can leave it as a decimal, accept it, but not your paper. You need to move the decimal 2 places and add the percent symbol, 13.42%, and you've got to have a word after it. Either it's gain or loss or any word that represents the same as gain or loss. In this case, this was a loss, so I'm putting the word loss. 13.42% APY loss. Whatever you do, don't use a negative number if you have a loss. You will never get to that answer. All right, there's that. Let's get to the good stuff. The house. This is my favorite chapter. All right, the house chapter. Where do I want to start with this? Renting versus buying, monthly payment. You know what? I want to start by showing you a chart because some of you have an old edition, and I want to make sure you have the correct numbers. If you don't, use your phone to take a picture of this page I'm about to show you from somebody who does have the new edition, because you need the most recent numbers in your future. Tell me something. This page is page number 231. This little chart at the top starts at 3% and goes all the way to 8%. But if you have an old edition, I think it starts as high as 6% or something. And you won't have any of the numbers at 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. Has anybody got an old edition? Can tell me what it starts at? Seriously. Now one person has an old edition here. That's impossible. Just now looking? I don't know. All right. There's several ways of using this table up at the top of this page, but one of the most common ways is to quickly calculate what an estimated monthly payment would be on a loan, like a mortgage. Now this doesn't include the taxes on a house and the home insurance, just on the loan itself. And what you do is you are going to, hang on, is it multiply or divide? Do a blank for a second, but it's right here, the example's right here at the bottom of the page. You multiply however many thousands that you think you're going to borrow to buy the house. In this example, they're going to borrow $223,000. You take off the zeros. Just how many thousands? 223 of them. Take the 223 times, well, what rate will your loan be? So we go to this table, and I don't remember what the number was. So the rate on that one must be 7%. If the loan is 7% and you're going to borrow $223,000, you take the 223 times the number. A 30-year fixed interest loan at 7% is 6.65. You multiply them. There's a really good estimate of your monthly payment. Let's try one more, a little more realistic, because interest rates right now on loans, you could get one for 4%. So we're going to look at 4%, 30-year fixed mortgage. And maybe we're starting out, since this is our first house, that we're only going to borrow $100,000. So what's my number? How many thousand are we talking about? What number am I putting here to multiply? 100, thank you. Times, what number am I using off the table with what I just described? 4% loan, 30-year fixed. There it is, 4.77. And this is easy because I'm multiplying times 100, which takes the decimal 2 places to the right. I don't even have to do it on the calculator. Your monthly payment on that loan is about $477. Now, is anybody renting right now? Anybody willing to share how much your monthly rent is so I can compare it? Really? Now, thank you. $515. And what a landlord is charging $515 is trying to say, I need to cover my mortgage for the place, that part, whatever part of that where he lives. I need to cover my insurance to insure the place where he lives, and I need to cover my property taxes. So that is what you're comparing. When you compare renting, the rent is the same as a house payment and what your home insurance would be divided by 12 and what your property taxes would be divided by 12. That's kind of what you're comparing to see if you're going to be spending more or less money. As you can see, this $100,000 loan to buy a house with is less expensive than his rent. But you're going to add to this the average home insurance. Let's say a house that size would be maybe $600 a year. Divide that by 12, that'd be an additional $50 a month. And let's say the taxes are $1,200 a year. Divide that by 12, that's another $100 a month. So the total house payment, and don't be wrong, most people on their first home put down a small down payment, so they have to pay both the insurance and the taxes in their payment to the lender. The lender hangs on to the portion for the insurance and taxes, and they pay your insurance and taxes for you with whoever it is you contracted to provide the insurance and taxes, well, the insurance. And then when the taxes are due, they pay it for you. Because usually when you don't have to pay them for your tax and insurance, you have to pay your insurance once a year is what you get billed for home insurance. So you have to put the money aside, and then you send them a check for $600 once a year. Property taxes, most municipals charge twice a year on property taxes. Some go 4 times a year, but most are only twice a year. So you have to put it aside, and then you make your what's called your winter tax payment, which is usually September, and your summer tax payment, which is usually in February. But you're looking at this, the 3 together. So we'll take this house now and add these in. 577. What are we at? 6. Blah blah blah. And this is part of your decision. Should I keep renting? First of all, that's unbelievably cheap rent. Should I keep renting or should I buy? And most people, they just look at how much they got to spend. They don't look at the big picture and they go, oh, I'm saving money renting. I'm going to keep renting. What am I at? 477. 577 plus 50 is 637. No, 627. No, I see everybody looking down like they're calculating it, but obviously, not what I'm calculating. 577 plus, what is that, 50? So that'd be 27. You got it now. 627. So this is all you're looking at. You're going, I might as well keep renting, because that rent includes the insurance and the property taxes, right? But the big picture. Are you ready? Now, what you're going to see as an example from the book, you're going to want to write a couple of notes and cross one thing out that I'm not going to ask about. You don't have to do as part of this, because this is for sure on your final. This is such an important calculation. So we're going to page, I'll find it, 221. Here is how you figure out truly what the difference is to keep renting versus buying. The renting's easy. You got to look at these as 1 year versus another 1 year, not just the monthly payment, because there's a lot involved. So the renting's easy. Whatever the rent is times 12. In this example, the rent is $1,250 times 12 is $15,000. I'm going to use his example, which is 515. We're going to take 515 and multiply it times 12. So the yearly rent is, this is rent. 6,000, what did I get? 6,000, why isn't it up there? We're on the book. 6,180. Now, the next one is renter's insurance. Most college students who are renting don't even think about getting renter's insurance. So he probably doesn't have it. But if you have something expensive in your place that could get stolen, like a laptop or a really nice stereo, stereos probably aren't a big deal. When I was in college, a nice stereo was a big deal. Right? I mean, most of us would invest $800 to $1,000 in our stereo, even if we didn't have the money. So let me ask you this. You have no renter's insurance. But in most cases, this renter's insurance is $210 a year. It would be less than that because you guys are college students. You don't have a lot of stuff. So let's just call it 110, but I'm going to say 150. I'm going to go on the high side. $150 per year. So this is per year, this is per year. And now, opportunity cost, that interest lost on the security deposit because now it's no longer invested in a savings account earning interest, and instead the landlord's hanging on to it and you can't get any interest off it, cross it off. You don't have to do that part. For the renting, all I need is the year's worth of rent and the renter's insurance, and the monthly rent will be given to you and the renter's insurance amount will be given to you. You just got to add them together. So we're at $6,330 per year. Check my math. Now, buying. Let's take our payment here. We're going to do them one at a time here. Let's take our payment on our loan of $477 a month on this $100,000 loan. Look at the example for buying real quick. This example had the monthly payment on the loan at $1,264 times 12 is $15,168. In this example, though, we're going to use 477 times 12. Okay? 5,724 per year. This is owning or buying. That's a 5. Now, we got to add to this. What's next in our line here? Property taxes for the year. I said in this house, we only borrowed $100,000, so it's not a house we have a huge loan on. We're going to have property taxes of $1,200 a year. The example is $4,800. Next one down says home insurance for the year. In that example, it says $600. I happen to have used $600 here. A house with a mortgage of $1,264 is not going to cost $600 for the insurance. It's going to be more like $900. So that's a pretty low estimate. Year. There's the home insurance, right? Next on the list, estimated maintenance and repairs. It says $2,000 a year. That's a little high. Don't get me wrong. What happens is when you own a house, then you have some years where the maintenance and repairs are very small. And then about 3, 4, 5, you'll have about 5, 6 of those, and then all of a sudden you'll have something big. Water heater went out, furnace went out, new roof needs to be done. So really what you need to do is you say, knowing there'll be a big one maybe every 6 or 7 years, what if I budget for that and put aside money? It's the amount you're going to put aside. The suggestion here is the equivalent of 1% of the price of the house, like it's a $200,000 house. So if we go with that, this house was a $100,000 house. Now, I mean, the loan was $100,000, so maybe it was a $110,000 house. So 1% would be, I'm going to say $1,000 a year. Now remember, out of that $1,000, in the first several years, you're only spending maybe $200. The rest of it is being set aside, waiting for the roof to need to be replaced, or the furnace, or something like that. Well, that's kind of high, 1,000, but that's all right. Let's do 1,000 per year for the estimated maintenance repairs. And now this one, opportunity cost, after tax interest lost on the down payment, because you took money out of an investment, or even a savings account, earning interest to use for down payment, cross it off. You don't have to do this. We're taking that off this assignment for both the renting and the owning. That's all. Now, this is the part everybody, I lose them a little bit. So let's do this one at a time and write whatever notes you need to understand what each of these are. Because look, these are all subtractions. This is where a renter doesn't have these subtractions, but a homeowner does. I'm going to start with growth and equity. What growth and equity means is that we were making this $477 payment each month, $5,724, but part of it's been going to pay down our balance. Now remember the amortization schedule we looked at Monday? At the beginning of a loan, most of the payments go into interest, and a small amount's going to principal. So let's pretend the story, and you would be given what part of this is going to principal, paying down what you owe, and what part's going to interest. So I'm going to be conservative and say 1,700 was going to pay down what we owe, and the other 4,024 went to interest. Right? Because in the first year, it sounds about logical that a whole bunch of it goes to interest and not as much. So let me go here. Growth and equity, we're calling it growth, which means how much of our payment of that 5,024 went to pay down our balance. So we're not going to owe 100,000 anymore. We're going to owe less. And I was being conservative. I said, what did I say? 1,700. $1,700. We subtract. Why are we subtracting this? Because we get that back when we sell the house. We built the equity by making payments, and we're going to get it back when we sell it. Because we're going to sell it for more than what we bought it for. Next. The next one's called tax savings on mortgage interest. Right? And this one's big because the amount of that $15,168 that was interest on this example is $10,886 of it. The only part that went to equity was, well, the numbers are wrong, but anyway, $10,886. Let's go over here. Again, this is tax savings on the interest. When we were learning the taxes, I said there's a standard deduction, there's an itemized deduction. when you own a home, you're putting all the interest. Here's what went to principal. 5,724 minus 1,700 is the interest amount. So the interest is equal to $4,024, and you're going to put that on your itemized deduction page. And then you're going to multiply that by the marginal tax rate. Does everybody remember what marginal tax rate is? It's the tax rate on the very next dollar you're about to earn, if you were to earn another dollar. Let's say you're in the 25%, because most of you will be in the 25% marginal tax rate after you graduate and you get that job. You're going to start anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 a year, and you're going to be in that 25%. That last bit of money you're making in December is going to be at the 25%. So you multiply this times 0.25 because you're going to get 25% of it back in a refund when you do your taxes. Help me out. 4,024 times 25%. 4,024 times 0.25 equals, you're going to get 1,000 minus 1,006 back. Okay, so there's our growth in equity. There's our rebate on the interest we pay, because we're itemizing. Next on the list, tax savings on property taxes. Again, when you itemize, you get to include all the property taxes. We're paying $1,200 a year on property taxes on this example. Up here, the property taxes were $4,800. Their marginal tax rate in this example is 28%, by the way, not 25. We're using 25. This is a smaller example. So taxes, which were $1,200 times 0.25, that's going to be $300, I think. Is that right? $300 we get back when we do our taxes, like a rebate. And then here's the big one. We're right here. This is the big one. It's called appreciation. Now, please tell me, someone remembers, I happen to have mentioned the #1 rule of buying a house. Does anybody remember it? It was the #2 rule and #3 rule. Which was it? No, the emotion, that's when you're looking to buy. Yeah. Yeah, that's not the #1 rule. The #1 rule, which was the same as this, what is it? Location. Location is the key. This is the key to what you're going to learn today. All right? If you can keep a control on your emotion when you're house shopping. Instead, let me give you an example. When I moved to Ohio, when I first graduated from college, and was looking at where to live and looking, the internet didn't exist yet. That's right. Wasn't even invented yet. And for me to figure out what are the areas, what I'm focused on is, okay, I want to be in this county because I'm working in this county. Here's all the different areas in the county. I need to figure out which one of these areas that home prices are increasing in value the most. Now, most of us live in Genesee County. Is that correct? Raise your hand, Genesee County, so I know it's true. Okay, well, a lot of you. If you had to guess, because you've lived here long enough and had conversations with people, you're probably not old enough to start talking about, hey, has your home increased in value? But if you had to guess in Genesee County, where do you think homes might be right now increasing the fastest in our county? No. I used to think it was Grand Blanc. They're giving away homes in Grand Blanc because something's going on. I don't know what's going on there. Anyone else? It used to be Grand Blanc for many years, but not anymore.
I know the place is going up a lot in Saginaw County. That's Frankenmuth.
Yeah, Frankenmuth. Yeah, it's true. Genesee County, where? Anybody have another guess? Go ahead.
Flushing?
Flushing is not it either. Flushing, you got to be careful. It's like this little island of okayness, but it's got troubles in the horizon. And if you know anyone living in Flushing, tell them to sell while they have the chance. Okay? Anyone else?
Like Clinton?
Flint? Who said that? Oh my God.
Just give me it. Just what does it start with?
It's all of the southern part. The farthest southern part of Genesee County
So
is
like-
where the homes are appreciating the
Like
fastest.
Clinton, would that be?
Atlas, Goodrich, Fenton, Lake Fenton, Linden, Argentine Township. I can't think of the other little towns down there, but Atlas Township right now is going to be a gold mine. If someone said, oh, I got my job in Genesee County, where should I buy a house? I'd be telling them, Atlas Township, right now. Because you got this growth coming up from the Oakland County that's starting to merge in with a little bit of growth coming down from Goodrich, and I am seeing house prices jumping down there. And before the housing crash, the southern part of Genesee County, you can literally go on these tax pages I taught you to find, and you can see what houses are sold for. Or you can see SEV values. And you start randomly picking SEV values or prices of houses, and you can see what it was the previous year, the previous year, the previous year. And you calculate the percentages of changes in that SEV value. You go to another little town, you pick a few houses at random, you look at their SEVs, and those changes in SEVs really do represent a little bit, kinda, of the market change in prices of houses in those areas. And if you're in an area like I was, I had to literally go and figure out those SEVs and figure out the percentages, because they're all free information. Houses information is available to anybody for almost free if you're willing to go down there. $1 on the internet for some of these counties, like Oakland County charges $1 to get the information unless you drive to their Register of Deeds place, the county building. So that's the key. So when the housing crash took place, and I said, oh my God, look at these house prices. They're giving them away. And I started buying foreclosures. My thought was, I got to figure out where were houses increasing the fastest before the housing crash. Because when things recover, wherever that spot is where the housing prices will come back the fastest. And that's exactly what's happened. The southern part of Genesee County, not only had the house prices come back, but they're now increasing so fast that they're higher than they were before the crash. Where Flint, they're so far below where house prices were before the crash that they barely, if at all, stopped going down. That's how it has not turned around there. And houses were, before the crash, only increasing at about 1% to 2% in Flint. Before the crash in southern Genesee County, house prices were increasing more than 10% a year. I found houses that were increasing at 15, 18% in 1 year in some particular areas in the southern Genesee County. So that's all I focused on. Genesee County, southern Genesee County, and I started buying foreclosures down there. Location is the key. If you walk in a house and you feel like, oh, I gotta have it, walk in 10 more, because you're gonna have that feeling again, as long as that house is in the right area. Now, if you have that feeling, I got to own this house, I love it, you got to remove that because you need to have the guts to make a low ball offer. An offer so low it's embarrassing, an offer so low that you probably won't get the house. And that's why you got to take the emotion out, because it will drive you to make an offer too high. An offer so low that it will most likely stop you from being able to buy that house. And you'll hear eventually, within a day or two, sorry, they don't accept your offer. They may even counter. But you do not stop moving. You don't wait to hear that. You continue on looking at houses and making more offers. And you make ridiculous offers until finally some motivated seller says, I'm taking it. And when you start, this is after you get your first house, we're talking like maybe 20 years from now, I'll be dead, but you guys will all be going, oh my God, it's happening again, and there'll be a housing crash again. And I hope you have been saving the whole 20 years, waiting for that moment. Because if you can say, I'm going to buy that house with cash, or you take a home equity loan, so you add it to your savings and say, I'm going to buy that house with cash, that's what will cause somebody to say, I'll take your offer. As low as you made your offer, if you said, and it's a cash offer, you got it. That is usually the thing that causes the seller to say, to accept a ridiculous offer, is because it's cash. Because they're tired. When they accept an offer from another buyer who's getting a loan, a lot of sellers have experienced getting closer and closer to that closing, which takes 4 to 6 weeks from the time you accept an offer to get to closing. It's over a month. And they took their house off the market, and they're packing, and they're thinking about the new house they're going to move into. They may have even made an offer on it because they just found out they're selling their house. All of a sudden, the closing's coming, and the buyers didn't get their loan. They didn't qualify for some reason. And they waited all that time to find out, and they got to start from ground zero again. And when they experience that, and the next offer is a cash offer, even though it's lower than the first offer, they know they won't have to experience that unbelievable down when they find out the sale didn't go through, because it's a cash offer and they take your offer. Your goal is to save for the next 20 to 25 years, so knowing that everything comes around again, including a housing crash, and you're going to jump on it. That's what's going to happen. And then after 10 years after that, 5 years after that, you start selling all these homes, you're going to retire. And you won't even be in your 60s. All right? Everybody get this? Now, here's appreciation. Because you picked the right location, your home increased not 1.5%. We're not in Flint Township. This maybe Burton may be up to 2% right now. I know it's starting to turn around, but we're not there. We bought a house in an area that's turned around, and we're at least getting 10% increase. So we bought the house at $100,000. So in that year, our house increased $10,000 in value, and we're getting all that when we sell it, tax-free. Everybody hear that? That's why owning a home will always, always, always beat renting, even if your rent's only $515 a month, because of that. That's why location is the key to this whole housing deal. Don't allow any decisions to buy a home convince you to be in any location but the best location you can find, because that's where the money's made. Let's do the math now. This one's at $6,330. We're going to add up $5,724 is all we paid for the year for the payment. Here's our $1,200. You want me to get this up here on the screen so you can see all my numbers? I'm adding $1,200 in property taxes. I'm adding $600 a year home insurance. I'm adding $1,000 a year we're putting aside for maintenance and repairs. We're at $8,524. Oh, we're way past rent. Oh, wait, we're getting rebates when we do our taxes? What? Here we go. We're subtracting. Part of our payment went to growing equity, so we're subtracting the $1,700. Minus, we're getting some of our interest back on that loan when we do our taxes, $1,006. Minus, we're getting some of our, I'm sorry, that was interest. Now we're getting some of our property taxes back, $300. And here's the big one. We're getting appreciation because we picked the right location. Nice, 10,000. Look at that. Our home cost us nothing, and we're coming out ahead, $4,482. That's why you gotta buy a home. If you're renting, it's $6,330 gone, you'll never see it again. If you're owning, it was free. And we're giving you money. Does this help convince you to buy? Does everybody see how this works? Now here's the slight bad news. This was my favorite lecture every year, but our tax laws just changed this year. And because of that, these two things right here, this rebate and this rebate, may not be there anymore. We don't know for sure if that's the case, but it looks like it will be the case that these two numbers, because they changed the rules on how much interest you can itemize and how much of your taxes you can itemize, and they increased what's called the standard deduction, where they're saying some people who usually would itemize these two are going to end up taking a standard deduction. So I want to take those back off. Now I'm adding back 1,006, and I'm adding back the 300. But even if if the tax laws do cause these two to disappear, we still have our house for free, and we came out ahead, $3,176. It's like every month that we've been paying our mortgage, every month we've been paying our taxes and our home insurance, we're getting it all back. It's all coming back to us when we sell our house. And this is only if we owned it for 1 year. Now let's go to the second year. Same exact scenario. So now we're getting back another $3,000. Now we're going to get $6,000. We're up on the game. Let's go another year. Now we're up $9,000. Let's rent it for 2 years. We're still getting these numbers. We're working on another house now. And we got these numbers going on this house. We're gonna make this money. Now we gotta evict our renters, because we gotta sell it. Because the rule is when you sell it, you had to have been your main residence, the principal residence you lived in, for 2 of the last 5 years from the date you sold it. So if you lived in it for 2 years, and you rent it for 2 years and sell it, go back 5 years, the first 2 years, you were living there. And it was your main residence. So all that money is tax-free. You get to keep all of that, all of this. That's what location's all about. That's why picking the right location. Even if you have to buy the smallest house in the right location, is still much better than buying the big house in the wrong location. Because it will all come back to you. And if you sell that house in 2 to 3 years, because you want to make the money off it and get into a bigger house, as long as it's in the right location, you're getting into a bigger house. You sell that one in 2 or 3 years, right location, get into a bigger house. And it's all about the location. Go ahead.
So if you give us this problem on the test, will you tell us exactly what the tax bracket's going to be, 0.25? Or
I will. You will know the tax bracket, you will know the yearly amount on taxes, you'll know the yearly amount on insurance, you'll know the appreciation rate. I'll give you that percent.
And the
The
original
story will
house
say the house is in the perfect location, it's making 10%, it's appreciating 10% a year.
and the original house value too?
Probably the original house value, yeah. What am I saying, like the 100,000 back there?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you need that to calculate this. You'll have every information you need to calculate this and this.
And then will you tell us if you want us to use those last two or not?
Which last two? These two?
Yeah.
For this final exam, you are using
Are
these two.
using them.
I'm just giving you an example in
Okay.
real life how, for the first time ever in my whole life, these could be disappearing. That's how crazy the tax law changed.
The growth, that is estimated off of, you said the principal,
Say that again.
the growth,
Oh, the appreciation growth or the growth of equity?
how did you get that?
Which one are we talking about? The
1,700,
1,700?
1,700,
Okay. The story's going to say the payment on the loan is $477 a month, but I got to divide this by 12. But 135 of that's going to principal, bringing your balance down you owe, and the rest of the payment, where's the interest, is going to interest. See how these two add up to that?
Oh, yeah.
Part goes to
Okay.
interest, part goes to principal. The part
Okay.
going to principal, you're getting back when you sell it,
Okay.
because you're bringing down what you owe. I want to make sure you see how this works. You bought the house for $100,000, you sold it 1 year later for $110,000 because it appreciated 10%. Out of that $110,000, you got to give the bank $100,000 minus the $1,700 because you paid down your loan by $1,700. So that's $11,700 is going into your pocket, plus these rebates when you do your taxes if the tax laws hadn't changed. And you offset all these expenses you took on. They all got paid back to you, plus extra money, extra $3,176, even if these two don't exist. You got paid back for all this. I'm all about owning a home, and so I've owned a home. I still have 3 homes now. I just sold one last year on a land contract, and the balloon is coming up this September, so that means I'll get the rest of all the money for that home this September. I have one for sale right now. I had a walkthrough on Friday. What's today? Yeah, I had a walkthrough on Friday, but they already said they're not going to buy it. And anyway, I don't know what to say. Other than the other class asked to see it, just so they wanted to see an example. I don't know if I have it or not. Not this one. Okay, let's look at this one. This is the home I sold last year. So I bought this a little early before the true crash, because house prices were already coming down before the crash took place. So I got this for $139,000 and I sold it for $195,000. So I made that off of that just in a few years. And then that was good, but I can't find the other one. Oh, right here. So this one I bought for $115,000. Everybody hear that? But it wasn't finished. It was a builder who got foreclosed on, and I had to get it finished myself. So I bought it for $115,000. You know why they accepted $115,000? Does anybody know why? That's right. That's the only reason they took it, because they had already gone to 2 closings and it fell apart because they couldn't get the loan on it. The people who were trying to buy this didn't realize you can't get a loan on it because it wasn't finished. A mortgage company or a bank or credit union will not give a loan on a house that's not done, that's not livable. You have to get, when a house gets finished, the builder gets what's called certificate of occupancy. And until you get that, you can't get a loan on it. And the only reason they took my unbelievably low offer, and this was like the 50th offer in this particular stream of offers, was because of cash. The bad news is I had to spend, I'm at 180, so I spent, I'm at 185, so 65,000 extra cash to get it, to finish it, into it. So I have 185,000 into it, but I'm getting walkthroughs with an asking price of $379. Let's do the math on that. You ready? I have 185 into it, and I'm getting walkthroughs at an asking price of $379 right now. And I've lived in it over 2 years, so it's all tax-free. This house alone, I'm going to make more than I've made it ever in a whole year of working. More than I ever made in 2 years, now that I think about it. This is all coming your way again. This is all coming your way again. And if you need motivation to start saving, say, for the next 20 years, I'm saving because I know this is coming my way. And I'm going to be able to offer cash, and I'm going to make more money in 20 years than you'll make in 2, 3, 4 years of working by waiting, knowing this is coming. Everything comes again. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the only way for it to be tax-free is you have to live in it for 2 years?
You have to live in it for 2 years of the last 5 years from the date you sold it. There's one other way to make it tax-free. If you only live in it a year and you sell it for a profit, as long as you buy a house within a certain period of time for at least $1 more than what you sold the previous house for, you get to transfer the equity to that house and you avoid taxes until you sell this house. But as long as you live in the next house for 2 years out of the last 5, no taxes on any of that.
Could you have renters living?
I have several houses that I bought, live in for 2 years, then have renters for 2 years, and then sold. And that previous house is a good example. And that's what I did with this one. I rented it after I moved out and moved into that other house.
But you yourself has to live in it for 2 years?
Yeah, you have to, it has to be on your driver's license. You have to be getting real mail there. And I've learned a very valuable lesson. One of the main things they look at to prove that it was your main residence is, did you vote using that address? They look at the voting record. So make sure and vote if you're trying to buy houses to make money off of. Make sure and have that address be where you vote and go vote. And that proves you were living there. That's one of the big things that they use to prove it. Okay? All right. I've just made you guys rich. It's going to take you 20 years. But it's all going to happen. I hope you remember this and prepare for it.
How will we know in what cities or in what part of the county?
Is it going to be the best?
values are rising?
Okay. What I had to do before the internet came around is that whole house assignment was preparing you for what's coming in the future. Because a lot of you, like me, when I first graduated, my first job was down in Ohio in a place I've never lived or never even been in my whole life, Akron, Ohio. I'd never been there. So I'm in Akron, Ohio trying to find things. You go to the state equalized value on the taxes of houses. And on those pages, you learn how to look up the SEV value. You'll see that they have the SEV value for multiple years. And you start calculating the percent change. And you'll go like 3 or 4 houses in one area, do 3 or 4 houses, see the percent change of SEV value, and that kind of gives you an idea. The ones whose SEV values have been increasing the percent the highest is the areas, out of all the areas you look, that's the area where home prices have been increasing the best. And that's how you can find it. You can go nowadays, I can go to Zillow and see the past selling prices of houses. I could go on the tax and see selling prices, but it's so much easier now. The work I used to have to put in to look up what areas have houses increasing prices the most was so much work compared to today, just going on the tax pages on the internet. But you could use the SEV value, you could look at past selling prices on Zillow. Those same tax pages, if you would have rolled down towards the bottom, it will give you the selling prices of the houses in the past, of that house in the past, who it sold to and how much. That's all public information. So this is all information you can get your hands on, and you can figure out where the area where houses would be appreciating the most. And then you focus on those 2 or 3 areas to find a house. And you start making offers knowing your offer will be declined. Who cares? Because you realize someone's going to say yes. You just got to make enough offers that are so low that you guarantee yourself to make money. I mean, when I made that offer of $115,000 on that house, I already had made an offer on another house before they told me they accepted the offer because I knew they'd never accept it. It literally blew me away when they said yes, because I was actually starting at 115 and was prepared to go to like 140. But when they said yes, I said, oh my God, I almost forgot. There's another house in Goodrich. I don't think I have a picture of it, but I got it for 140. And I think the owners have had it up for sale recently, and it was like 355 or something like that. I got that one for 140, but I backed out at the last minute because during the inspection, and you guys should have inspections, by the way, it's worth $200, $300. The inspector tested the water from the well, and it had so much arsenic in it that it talked me out of it, kind of. Talked my girlfriend out of it, living there with me. So I had to move on to another house. I said, I'm not taking baths in that water. It was a very unusually high amount of arsenic. It was right off of M15 in Goodrich in a little subdivision that's right off a pond. I can't think of the name of the reservoir pond. Anybody live in Goodrich? So nobody knows. Okay. All right. What are we on to next? We're not long enough on that. You ready? We got to figure out how much house you can afford now. We're going to page 230. Before we go to 230, I want to see if you made me proud. Hang on. Look, hang on. Oh, thank you. All right. Here we go. Only 12 more, or at least 8 of the 12. If you're out there. All right, thank you. Look at how the other 3, oh, this one changed. Oh, you guys are from the second class, that's why. You're on, this is you. They're from the other class, that's why this changed. Thank you.
Oh, me?
One of you.
Oh, them?
No, you. Yeah.
We did it.
They're from this class.
Well, someone did this just within a few minutes ago, and this is your class. So that's just a coincidence then.
Put that at home.
All right. Where was I? I just said page something.
230.
230. You ready? This formula uses that index chart, you know, with the little number on it on the next page. So you got to put this together. Here's how I used to do it. I used to say, okay, here's how much payment I think I can afford. Like when I was renting, my rent may have been like $5.15 or something, but I was working full time and I was putting money away, saving. But I knew I could afford a little more if I wanted to get a house payment. And so I used to start, when I didn't have this calculation or this page in front of me, but in real life, I would start at A, my affordable monthly payment, how much I thought I could afford, and then I went from there. But we're going to start at the top so you can see how to kind of come up with how much you think you can afford in a monthly payment. There's A and B. We're going to talk about B. The difference between A and B is A, see step 3, subtract other debt payments like a car payment, a credit card payment, student loan payment, like that same thing when we calculate that 20% rule. You would put those involved in the calculation. We're going to talk about B, where it doesn't take all your other debt payments into consideration. We're just going to talk about this one. This person in B is making $48,000 a year, divided by 12 to get that gross monthly income, $4,000 a month. Now, be careful, because the question on your final exam, and this is on your final for sure, may already give you the monthly amount of income. You don't have to divide it by 12. And in previous semesters, people have divided it by 12 and went from there, but it was already monthly. So $4,000, you get the story, it says the monthly income for this person is $4,000. You multiply it by 33%, because we're not taking other debt payments into consideration. So 33.33, not 0.38. That's if we're taking other debt into consideration. We're doing 0.33 right now. So we're at 1,320. Now you subtract how much a month you think it would cost for the home insurance and the property taxes. This part right here, $600 a year, and this $1,200 a year divided by 12. if this was a bigger house, you know, who knows? You estimate that. Go with $800 for insurance maybe on the high end. Go with $1,800 or $2,000 on the taxes. In this case, it's $300 a month for the property insurance and taxes. We subtract that. That next number, 1,020, right there. That is the same as, this is what this person thinks they can afford in a house payment. For the loan part of the house payment. The property taxes and insurance have already been subtracted. So, how much of a loan then could this person borrow? Are you ready? You take that monthly amount and you multiply it by, you divide it by the index number over here based on what you think the loan interest rate will be. Use the 30-year column because I'm suggesting you always go with a 30-year fixed loan, period. 30-year fixed loan. So we go to that column, and in this example, the interest rates were, what percentage? 8%. But in our example, we could use like 4% or 4.5%. And our index number would be different. But let's, for the sake of this page, use 8%. 8%, 30-year, you see the number? 7.34. Let's go back. The affordable monthly payment, 1,020, divided by the 7.34, times $1,000. This person could afford a $138,965 loan. That's how you figure out how much you could afford on a loan. Then, this last part is helping you calculate how much is the most you could offer on a house based on how much you think you can give as a down payment. Now, I want to make sure everyone's paying attention. This last part's where everybody falls apart. The amount you can borrow divided by the opposite percentage of what percent you were prepared to give as a down payment. Now, if this is being divided by 0.9, which is 90%, how much is this person putting down then as a down payment? 10%, the opposite. So if you're putting down 10%, 1 minus 10%, you divide by 90%, 0.9. What if you're putting 20% down, which is the more common down payment, then what would you divide by here? 0.8. The opposite of 0.2 is 0.8. 1 minus whatever the down payment is. What if you're putting 3% down? 0.03, what do you divide by here? Point what? I heard it. 97. 1 minus 3% is 97%, 0.97. So you divide by whatever the opposite of the down payment is. This person's putting 10% down, so look at this. They can make an offer as high as $154,405 on a house, knowing they have the money to put down, what is that, 10, 11, 12, 16,000, about 15,500 down, borrowing $138,965. Their payment on the loan would be $1,020, $300 for taxes and insurance, and that's how you do it. This is what you need to get to, so you know you're not accidentally making an offer that you can't afford. That's what this does for you. It allows you to see what the max is. It doesn't mean you're going to make a $154,000 offer on a house. It just means that if you decide to make an offer on a house, do not offer more than $154,000 because you can't afford it. So I used to say, okay, if I can afford $1,020, now by the way, since interest rates are so low right now, if you take that $1,020 and divide by a number that represents 4% or 4.5%, you'll see that this amount you can borrow is much larger than $138,000. That's the advantage of low interest rates right now. So in a couple of years when you graduate, you kind of want to get into a house kind of quick to take advantage of these low interest rates. Because, you know, I've lived a half a century at least, and I've never seen interest rates this low. It's in my whole life. And interest rates won't be this low again until that housing crash happens again in 20 years. And so that's what you're preparing for. And you'll be able to borrow a bunch more than this. This 8% loan, that's more the average, more common before we had a housing crash. And everybody was borrowing 7%, 8% house loans. That was the common percentage until this crash took place. All right? can everybody calculate how much you can afford to make offers on a house, because this is on your final. And the only difference between these two is that this one multiplies by 38% instead of 33, and it subtracts the amounts being paid on like the student loan, plus your car payment, plus any monthly payments on credit cards, okay? That's the difference. Go ahead.
On our exam, I mean,
I'm get-
are we allowed to tell us whether it'll be A or B?
No, you have to read it and see if you have to take into consideration the auto loan payment, the student. If it's listing and this person pays $195 a month on their car, this person has a student loan payment of $125 a month, and it'll probably say something like, make sure to include these in your calculation, how much can they afford to offer on a house? Everybody get it? And that's it, right? I mean, I'll push. So we did all of these except for a mortgage insurance. One more thing I want to point out. Hang on, give me a minute, because this is a big deal. I looked this up real quick. Some people say, oh, I don't have money for a down payment, or I don't have good enough credit. FHA is a program that helps people who think they can't buy a house. If your credit score is 580, as low as 580 or above, they have a program where you only have to have 3.5% down. And the federal government backs you to get the loan. If your credit score is between 500 and 580, you just need to get to save enough to be able to put 10% down, and you still get a loan through FHA. It's through a lender, but they are allowed to market as FHA, and that means it's going to be backed by the government, so they know it's guaranteed. So there you go. Your credit score could be as low as 500, and you can still buy a house and get a loan. All right? All right, we'll pick up from here then. Hey, can I take attendance? Wait a minute. Wait, we'll take attendance.
Somebody already left. You can see it from the homework.
No, not everybody handled their homework. Are you kidding? Okay, thank you.
Or don't understand.